Diablo IV is set to release soon, and with its open beta, players are going to have the chance to try out the game's 5 classes, which are the Barbarian, the Sorcerer, the Rogue, the Druid, and the Necromancer. With the 5 classes to choose from, each class has their unique strengths and weaknesses. However, some classes excel better than others in solo play, especially in the limited beta content that's going to be available. One thing I want to mention is that in Diablo IV, there's really no such thing as best class when it comes to the overall game, and choosing the class that best suits you is going to depend on your playstyle. With that being said, out of respect for the game, since it hasn't fully released yet, I'm only going to place the classes in tiers of S and A. S being the tier that is more likely an overall class that is gonna likely keep you afloat in the world of Diablo, and when it comes to playing the game as a solo, which classes will offer you more of an uncomplicated experience and the possibility of surviving longer. This is all based off the information that is currently out there on the game and doesn't include anything in the fully released game that we know of yet. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's start with the Druid. The Druid is one of the more unique classes in Diablo IV. This class can change its physical form from a human to a bear or even a werewolf, and its new form lasts for a certain duration until the player uses a different skill. The Druid's unique mechanic is using earth and storm spells, which provide a variety of offensive and defensive passive effects. The Druid also has a companion that doesn't need to be summoned but appears automatically in combat, and players can use unique companion skills to deal more pet damage. The Druid's primary stats are strength, health regen, and dexterity. Investing in these stats will increase critical hit chances, damage, and survivability. The Druid is a jack of all trades type of character that mainly focuses on the supporting skills, but can also do good damage with longer cooldowns. Overall, the Druid is an excellent choice for players who want a unique playstyle that hasn't been seen in many games, and a class that can compete against other classes in group content. This class is also for those who like having a complex playstyle and powerful builds. Some of the skills are locked behind certain forms for the Druid, which are only available for a certain time. However, the Druid will usually be accompanied by 2 wolves, no matter what form they're currently in. Some of the strengths the Druid has is the werewolf and werebear transformations are very devastating against enemies. A lot of the build variety to choose from with powerful range of skills, which are great against both for single damage and crowd control damage. They can easily generate spirit, which is the Druid's primary resource to cast powerful spells on the go. And some of the weaknesses are powerful abilities of the Druid are locked behind specific forms which the human form can't access, and the Druid has a bit of a weak start and takes some time to become really powerful. So for the Druid, I place this class in the A tier in terms of beginner friendliness, and that's mostly because of the longer start time to become powerful and some abilities being locked behind specific form. But I know this class will be amazing, and quite honestly, this will most likely be my first character I play with in the beta, and I'm very excited to see the class's powerful abilities and its diverse class mechanics. So once I get my hands on this, I'm definitely going to be making an updated tier list. Next up on the list, we have the Sorcerer. The Sorcerer is the typical mage class that deals high amounts of damage with fire, ice, and lightning spells, and while the Sorceress is very fragile and can't take many hits, it can deal massive amounts of damage from a distance. The Sorcerer's unique class mechanics is the enchantment system, which allows players to change how a skill works, and several active abilities have dedicated enhancement slots. And if a player places a skill in the enhancement slot, it can no longer be activated but instead transforms into a secondary passive bonus. The Sorcerer's primary stats are intelligence, dexterity, and willpower. Investing in intelligence will boost the damage of spells, while investing in dexterity will improve the speed of mana recovery. And if you invest in willpower, it will increase critical chances and much more. The Sorcery's primary skills are fire, ice, and lightning, and each spell has a specific use in combat. The fire spell synergizes well with the burning status effect, which deals damage over time, and the ice spells deal less damage but give players more utilities such as freezing or slower movement speed. The lightning spells are well balanced in terms of dealing a decent amount of damage and controlling encounters to the player's advantage. Overall, the Sorcerer is an excellent choice for players who want to deal high amounts of area effect damage and control encounters to their advantage. Now for some strengths, the Sorceress is unmatched in crowd control and AoE damage, abilities making her the single most dangerous class against hordes. To offset her glass cannon status, the Sorcerer can evade and teleport her way out of harm's way, making her particularly hard to hit. Some weaknesses is the Sorceress is potentially the most fragile character with dangerous attacks, leaving her in critical condition compared to other Diablo IV classes. This class doesn't offer much buffs to boost her party's offense and defense capabilities. While her mana does regenerate, the Sorcerer really depends on that resource to even stay afloat in a fight. So with all this information, I place the Sorcerer in the A tier list. Alright, next up is the Necromancer. For the Necromancer, I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say this is a very good class, and it's going to be going into S tier. And it's not because it's one of the best PvE class in other Diablo games, but this class is excellent at almost all roles, and players can use a variety of weapons such as swords, daggers, wands, and more. The Necromancer's unique class mechanic is the Book of the Dead, which allows players to customize their undead army skill by choosing between skeleton warriors, mages, and golems. The Necromancer's primary stats are strength, health regen, and dexterity, and investing in these stats will increase critical hit chances and damage. The Necromancer's primary skills are Bone Prison, Darkness, Blood Search, and Army, and each skill has a specific use in combat. The Bone Prison skill primarily focuses on dealing physical damage while consuming the Essence resource, while the Darkness skill makes use of dealing damage over time. The Blood Search skill allows the Necromancer to become a vampire that restores their life for every hit they land on an enemy, while Army lets players summon skeletons to fight by their side. A powerful class and has a unique playstyle that lets players control and command their own undead army. Some of the strengths include the Necromancer has a build variety allowing you to create balance and even overpowered builds, and a great class for crowd control due to its easy generation of essence and corpses. Some of its weaknesses are the Necromancers are better against crowds but are weak against singular strong enemies due to how possibly little corpses around the environment at the time. Without investment in blood playstyle, this class can be rather squishy. Now for another S tier class, the Rogue. This stealthy assassin class has the highest single target damage in the game and has a very fast movement speed. While the Rogue is a class cannon compared to the Barbarian, it can quickly switch between melee and ranged weapons such as daggers, swords, and bows. The Rogue's unique mechanic is the talent specializations, which allows players to activate all three specializations simultaneously or use them all at once. The combo points are accumulated by activating basic Rogue skills, which players can consume with core skills to trigger additional effects. Inner Sight will allow players to fill up Gorge by attacking marked enemies, providing unlimited energy for a brief period. The Rogue's primary stats are dexterity, strength, and health, and investing in these stats will amplify skill damage, improve dodge, and increase survivability. Overall, the Rogue is an excellent choice for players who want to deal high amounts of single target damage and switch between melee and ranged combat. Some of the strengths that the Rogues have are the Rogues can deal extremely high damage thanks to their core skills, as well as a range of passives that increase damage dealt, and there's not many classes more nimble than the Rogue, as they can easily avoid damage and get better positioning at a moment's notice. But some of the weaknesses are Rogues are reliant on positioning, especially ranged builds, as they can easily die when cornered thanks to how squishy they are. The Rogue is a very technical class with plenty of conditions in order to maximize its abilities, and that's another weakness that it has. And lastly, we have the Barbarian. The Barbarian is an S tier class, and it is undoubtedly one of the best classes in Diablo IV when it comes to solo play. This melee class is perfect for players who want to deal massive amounts of damage up close. With the ability to switch between 4 different weapons, the Barbarian has a unique playstyle customization that makes it stand out from all the other classes. In terms of offensive and defensive attacks, the Barbarian is straightforward and easy to understand, making it an excellent class for players who are new to the game. The arsenal system is the Barbarian's unique class mechanic, which allows players to equip and swap weapons on the go, and each weapon has corresponding expertise that players can level up, making the Barbarian a very versatile and customizable class. The Barbarian's primary stats are strength, health regeneration, and dexterity, and investing in these stats will increase your chance of landing critical hits. Overall, the Barbarian is a much more physically damage-oriented class and is an excellent choice for players who want to deal massive amounts of damage up close. Some of the strengths that the Barbarian has is that they have Berserk, which gives them a passive buff that deals 25% more damage and 30% more movement speed. The core skills of the Barbarian are meant to be devastating, which are further enhanced by buffs and other additional skills. Also, the Barbarian is an incredibly durable class, allowing for tank builds that can take a lot of pain. And some of the weaknesses are the Barbarian is Fury dependent, which unfortunately depletes itself while outside of combat and gets additionally drained when using more powerful core skills. Because many of the Barbarian's weapons, arsenal, and skills are close combat oriented, it can be hard to dodge powerful attacks. And lastly, the Barbarians can be a challenge to play early in the game due to how they still need to be built up first with proper weapons and skills. It's difficult to definitely rank the best class to play in, as each class has its unique strengths and playstyles. However, there are some factors to consider when choosing a class for beta. If you prefer melee combat, the Barbarian might be the best choice for you. They deal massive destruction up close and are straightforward when it comes to offensive and defensive moves. Additionally, the arsenal system provides build diversity and itemization progression. If you enjoy spellcasting and dealing elemental damage, the Sorceress might be the best choice for you. They have a wide range of elemental spells, and the enchantment system allows players to customize and transform active abilities into secondary passive bonuses. If you prefer a versatile class that can switch between melee and ranged weapons, the Rogue might be the best choice for you. They have a unique talent specialization system that lets players accumulate combo points, fill up the gauge, and imbue other attacks with specific effects. If you enjoy transforming into animal forms and casting earth and storm spells, the Druid might be the best choice for you. If you prefer summoning minions to fight with you in battle, the Necromancer might be the best choice for you, and they can resurrect corpses and have a unique class mechanic known as the Book of the Dead, which lets players customize their undead armies with different passive bonuses. That's it for the Diablo IV class tier list. While each class has its strengths and weaknesses, they are all excellent choices for players who want to experience the game's unique playstyle and combat, but I do have to say, as a solo and or a new player, the Barbarian can and will be one of the easier classes to use. Thanks guys, I know some of you might not agree and everybody plays their own ways and has their own opinions, but when the full game is released, I'll make sure to make a better tier list down the road for experienced and new players. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, hit that like button as it does help me out a lot, and subscribe for future content. Thanks guys, and have a nice day.